So one of the things I'm going to do in this video, I'm going to share with you some stories about myself that nobody really knew but Cece and I. And so this is just going to be a little segment of something new I started doing every once in a while where I'm just picking back little segments and just really sharing some of the things I've done over this 9 years now since I completely left the United States and started moving abroad. So we're going to go back to Panama. Panama was the first country that I moved to. Reason being was at that time the UK, the pound was doing way much more dominant than the dollar. So I was looking at it, I was like, that's a lot of money I'm losing for just to convert to pounds, which taught me, hey, at the very minimum, I need to have at least a 3 to 4 times X on the return rate for me to live in the country. And so that was a very good life lesson. And so that's what made us look into Panama at the time, actually, believe it or not. We saw that it was a very simple move from the United States. Also, any really bad life emergency to where we need to be back on U.S. soil, it was like at that time, I think a 3 hour flight maybe. It wasn't bad at all to get to Miami. And from there to get to Texas is nothing. And also they had direct flights to Texas, so we knew we could get back and forth very easy. We wasn't, and when I say we, I'm saying myself and my wife who passed away, my late wife. Um, so it was one of those things where we really thought about it, where it was like, okay, we're dipping our toe out of the United States, but if it get too bad, it's easy to come back if something happened and it's the end of the world. So, we had those thoughts and ideas that you may be having also as you're thinking of moving abroad. And the thing about living in Panama, which was really cool, it gave me everything to be that retiree. You have the golf courses, you have the beach, you can go, what's that? The kiting. You can go kiting by the ocean. You can just go sit and have a barbecue at the ocean, eat some fresh caught fish. Like, it was really that retirement vibe that we all have been painted the picture to dream of. And it got boring. It got boring very quick. And the reason being is at that time I felt like I was just one of the biggest people in the country. I was really insecure with my size because at that point I was still well over 200 kilos. And that was a lot of weight, man, to be moving around. And so one of the things that Panama made me get the urge was to be healthier. Sorry, not more healthier. But and from there, like, I started spending a lot of time just studying, finding old books about herbal medicinals, books about different eating habits, things like that, and just reading them and dissecting them, and then comparing them to each other as I tried each one. And I saw how some things were more successful for me and others were not sustainable for me. And so then that's how I stumbled onto plant-based, actually. I didn't just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm gonna eat plants. It was from all the research and the studying, and also the practicality of me trying things on myself. Like, I actually was being very mindful about what I was doing, how I was doing it, the frequency of doing it. So, like, I was at a sniper precision viewpoint of looking at health. And so from there, that's when I discovered the endocannabinoid system. And so when I did that, I was doing a bunch of research, watching documentaries, pulling up white papers, pulling up things that was from Israel at the time that our doctors was doing trial studies and studying different things. And then looking at some of the old literature on it before it became, the cannabinoids became such this taboo thing, that started saying like all the different medicinal things about it. And once I saw the endocannabinoid system, like, that really piqued my interest. I'm like, this is something I've never heard of before. Like, this is really cool. What is this? And before I go any farther, let me just say this, guys. One, I am not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice in this video. I'm just sharing my personal story and just sharing with you how I became the person I am now. I think a lot of times when people hear, oh, he's vegan, he's plant-based, they think like it's been my whole life, and the truth was it wasn't. Like I had to make a decision and stop everything, but I didn't just come to that decision overnight the way it looks on camera. It was a lot of research, sweat, and tears put in there, and so that's why I just wanted to start explaining some of this because I think a lot of times when we share our stories on YouTube or we're sharing things that we're doing, we forget that the next person listening may not walk exactly or anything familiar to our shoes, and so there's a lot of things we expect the person just to know. And even I'm guilty of this. Like I was guilty of it for a long time when I used to always, get upset with my family because I'm like, yo, why y'all not just listening to me? Like, yo, there's some things that you can do that you can really change your life. And it's not as bad as you think it is, especially if you just do it over time. And you got to remember me, I'm now 8.5 years eating vegan, plant-based. And this is after I've done, so like I'll tell you one protocol I did. It was some detox capsules. They were plant-based detox capsules and really expensive. I'm not gonna lie to you. And you had to detox each organ, so like the lung, the liver, heart, kidneys, all of that. And then there was even one to detox your skin, and you do it for 30 days. And so like I was paying for those, taking those, detoxing. I did a juice fast. I was doing intermittent fasting, actual long-term fasting. Like I went up to 32 days fasting with no food, and I was feeling real good at that time. And that was in Colombia. Like I was really into the game. Also, we did juice fasts where I was taking fresh fruit from the tree as they ripen, because that was another beautiful thing about Panama. It was a tropical country, so there's always fruit growing all year round. So like I was really testing, what it is to eat fresh fruit straight from the ground. Like there's nothing been sprayed on it. It's not been wrapped in plastic. None of that stuff. Literally, it's like if I wanted some mangoes, I was go in my backyard, pick some mangoes. We had 3 different trees back there. Had a noni bush, so whenever I wanted noni juice, I would just go pluck them off the bush and get them. I had a tamarind tree, so whenever I wanted tamarind, especially if it was in season, I can just get it right off the tree. Had lemon trees, mango tree. I say mango, papaya. Had papaya trees. I think by the time I left, I had a seedling growing for avocado tree, but those take like 5 years to start to get to bloom. Also, I had moringa trees that I was planting from the seeds, so I was actually taking moringa straight from the tree in my yard, as far as the leaves, even some of the bark, all of that, the seeds fresh. So I was doing a lot of things that at that time I think people thought it was weird, but now it's like sub pockets of where people are like, oh, moringa is the super fruit, moringa this, moringa that. And it's funny now that everyone's being told that, because like 5 years ago I was in a network marketing company that sold all moringa products. It was some of the best products I ever had. Like when you see how small and how good I was looking when I was in Colombia, especially those last couple of weeks, it was because I was taking out those moringa products. I had a moringa filtered water dispenser that filtered it through moringa seeds. Had all the moringa facial products. I was taking the capsules. I had the powders to drink. I think I had even moringa lotion. Like I was using a lot of that stuff, and now it's like I wake up and the whole world has been told about moringa, and it's a great thing. But it's funny when you were in on it before people really understood the benefits of it, and you seem like that crazy person. So like it was real cool being in Panama because it was the first time in my life I owned 24 hours of my day. It's the first time I got the taste of it, meaning from sun up to sundown, or whenever I wake up and go to sleep, it's whatever I want to do. Like, doesn't mean I'm trying to do all these lavish things, but it's like, what do I want to do? I don't have to report to anybody. I don't have to worry about going to pick up nothing from some crazy grocery store. Like I literally had nothing that I had to do except what do I want to do at this present moment? Do I want to go to town today? Do I want to just go get something to eat? Do I want to walk here? It was literally my first time having that, and it was scary at first. I'm gonna be honest with you. It was really scary because no one has ever, at least in my experience, no one's ever talked to me about what do you want to do today. Like, even if someone's like, hey, what you want to do? Sometimes like that hidden agenda to get you to do what they want to do. And so it was my first time, and then as the time kept getting going, I was like, yo, okay, this retirement ain't for me. I was like, I got to throw myself into something. And I had promised my wife at the time, I was like, look, I'm not going to do any type of jobs or working. I'm going to just find something to do. And so I threw myself into getting as healthy as possible because I started realizing, there's things I want to do in this life. Like, what do I want to do? And so having that time to actually figure that out and start realizing some of the things that I wanted to do, like go to Amsterdam, like, take pictures on the little ferry boats, like things like that. And so I got the urge to, okay, how can I get healthier? How can I go from someone who was on a CPAP machine, over 300 kilos, couldn't walk. At that time, I needed my late wife to put my tennis shoes on for me or tie them up. I was in horrible condition, taking over 40 pills a day just to try to maintain some form of living. To, man, what do you want? Like, I never pictured there being an opposite side of feeling better. Like, that's the thing I don't think people realize I really understand is like, I remember what it felt like to feel like there was nothing that could help me or make me feel better. And it was scary, yo. It was a scary place. Darkest days of my life, to be honest with you. And so, like, now that I see the other side, and then I see when people are on that side, and it's like, man, it can be better. Yo, come on, let's do this. Like, I'm telling you, just stick in one day at a time. It gets sad sometimes, but like I didn't understand until I started doing more diving into the ego and the identity, which I'll talk about that some in another video. That'd be a whole nother part of the segment. But starting to truly understand it better, I started understanding how to change myself better, to be honest. And that's how I started really honing in on how to get out of my very, very horrible eating patterns that got me to the state of sickness I was in, to realizing how to exactly change those behavior patterns. And that's how I got to where I was, especially in Colombia, which was, man, I was a beast out there, yeah. I was a beast. Colombia, man, because Medellin is a very vanity place, so like people want to look good, and like that type of competition, like I used to love that. And so it really made me hone in even deeper into understanding health at a better level. I wanted to understand, like, how can I just not feel better? I want to be better. How can I have better organs tomorrow than I had today? Like, all those different things. And I just started going deep into research. I had books from China, books from Israel, books from India, old books from, I can't remember some of the guys' names, books from different people who was talking about psilocybin and all of that, and LSD. Just really reading and throwing myself into it. And then I started studying people who got better using cannabinoids. And so when I started studying the ones who got better instead of focusing on the ones who didn't, because one of the things that started stemming out from people who didn't get the same results or better, where they didn't do it every day. meaning they didn't follow the protocol, and so they didn't get the results because you didn't follow the protocol. But the ones who did, they were doing it every day, and they were, even though they was in a state of fear, they was like really pushing themselves. And so as I got to the point where I became comfortable with cannabinoids, knowing that, okay, it ain't gonna do this to me. So all of this stuff, like the movie Reefer Madness, well, oh, they lied to me. So from learning that and then going to trying it, and I'm a bougie person. I'm not gonna lie to you. So I started out on. I had bought this. I started out with a glass pipe. It was a glass pipe. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I'm not I wasn't a connoisseur at that time. So I just went and go bought it, and then I was just like, because some of them said, some of y'all gotta change the wording on some things, man. They'd be like, "Oh, do you want a crack pipe?" And I'm like, when you use the word crack in front of me, that brings back horrible memories as a kid, seeing my uncles and seeing people on the street growing up. So I'm laughing now, but that shit ain't funny. And so stuff like that used to scare me. So I'd go buy the most expensive looking ducky or blown glass. Instead of getting like a $5 or $10 piece of glass, I'm getting a thing that's $60-$70. But hey, I'm bougie. Then I went from that because I felt like it was because I was still getting a lot of combustion, meaning fire creates ash, which is just toxins in my opinion. I was like, okay, so I'm still getting there. Let me go to vaping. So I went to vaping. It was nice. However, I felt like I was wasting because with vaping, it's just the devices don't really seem to work that great in my opinion. Maybe they're getting better now, but at that time it was with the Snoop GP and all of those different ones, and I went through all of those, even the ones that had little coils in it. So I did that. Even had a Da Vinci. I still have a Da Vinci to this day. I love Da Vinci Mini, and they just don't work for me personally. And so then from there I was like, okay, I gotta go to something better. It's gonna give me maximum consumption, but also as healthy as possible. And so I had found the Volcano, hot air vape machine where it vapes it up into a plastic bag. And so I was like, okay, I want the Volcano. At that time, it was like $300 or $400 US, and I was like, I don't want it that bad. Let me find a knockoff Volcano. So I put all my energy into finding knockoff volcanoes. I would look at the pictures every day, look at the specs, see how the same ring attachments and bags work for the Volcano machine. So when I run out of bags, I can just get the rest from the Volcano. All the replacement parts work the same. And then I went to the shop. It was over there off of, what's the name of that street? It's not Westmoreland. It's not Wheatland. Man, I can't remember. I think it started with a G. It's in DeSoto, right off of the highway, right after Wheatland Road. If you're going towards Waco, Pleasant Grove Road. It was right over there off of Pleasant Grove. I think isn't that Pleasant Grove? Pleasant Run. I'm sorry, Pleasant Run, I believe is the name. It was right there off of Pleasant Run. That show you how long I've been gone. It's been gone a long time. And so I went in there. Some just told me to go in there, and I saw a knockoff Volcano. It was black and silver, and it was like $150. I gave him the money. I went home, topped it off, saw it go. I was like, okay, cool, perfect. Because it was at a 100% medicinal level. Like that was the biggest thing I wanted to. How can I boost my endocannabinoid? Because it's so. Break it down a little. Endocannabinoid. To remind you, I'm not a doctor. I'm not giving medical advice. I'm just sharing my story, things that I learned. I'm sure there's more information nowadays. I'm just sharing the journey where I was at when I started studying this stuff. So please just understand I'm speaking for me. This is what I done, what worked for me. And so from my studies, they were saying endocannabinoid is a part of your nervous system. And with it being a part of your nervous system, I mean, it touches every organ. Everything can be stimulated from it. And so I was, in my mind, I started asking questions like, okay, if the endocannabinoid can be stimulated like that, then that means, is this what having people with these such and such conditions? And like, remember, I started studying people who were winning, who was getting success from using the endocannabinoids. And I started kind of seeing similarities of like, this started getting hyper, getting less inflammation. This started happening here. And then I was kind of connecting the dots in my brain that, okay, clearly this is the endocannabinoid system, and it's showing from where they're having problems, and this is the only thing that's been introduced to them, that it does run there on the nervous system. And so I was like, okay, so I'm believing the literature that I was reading and researching. And so then I was like, okay, let's start testing it on yourself. Like, it's one thing to say you believe in something, but I feel like you don't truly believe until you start doing it. And so that's why I started doing different protocols of hypernourishment. I didn't know that's what it was called at the time. I was just told it was just eating plants, eating for your health. So I was doing a lot of raw. I went completely alkaline. Alkaline was really cool. It really helped heal my gut health. I know I had a horrible gut bacteria. I was suffering from IBS, just some of the things that I was having issues with. And even after my spinal fusion, I was having issues to where just to hold on to water. And, my bladder was hard. It would be painful. And so through alkaline eating, like, I saw that for me, I got benefits from that. And then from alkaline, I switched on to, remember I told you I tried everything. Everything under the sun I've tried. Mediterranean, keto, carnivore, everything. And some things were good, and some things was just unsustainable for me. And so when I found plant-based, that's how it became sustainable. And to me, the cannabinoids actually went hand in hand with me just transitioning to plant-based, because it was like I started really taking into heart, that old saying, the medical saying of that food be thy medicine, medicine be thy food. And so I was really becoming a cultish in a way about it. It was like, if it didn't come from a plant, I'm not using it. Like, I probably had to share some stories one day. So like, I was in Panama, and I was just going to their market. And I'm like, sarsaparilla. I'm just looking. Like, I write down there, try to write it down in Spanish or figure out a picture of it. And I just go looking for it, man. And they used to look at me like, this American dude is crazy. And I would just be there, and then after a while, they saw like, oh, this dude is about this life. And became friends with the people, like, really good people. Even my neighbors, who I was living next to in Bejuco, such a great family, man, great people. I remember when he first met me, he was like, hey, military, Mr. Ricardo, great man. He's such a, man, it was so great having him in my life. He was such a great person, man. I wish he knew how much he really meant to me, because they were really good people. And so from then we met, and he was like, I like to drink a little. I think he said like he drink a beer or two here and there, but he was like, one thing he's against is cannabis. And I started laughing. I was like, well, I hate to break it to you, because I use a lot of it. Because at that time, I was like full plant-based. Like, okay, this is going to heal me. Like, you couldn't tell me. It was like the shroud of Jesus was on me. Like, I knew plant-based was going to heal me. I started like 3 months in, I think it was when my CPAP started clearing up. The machine was starting to hurt to breathe. And I remember asking Cece, I was like, you think it's okay? And then I think I waited an extra, maybe 2 to 3 weeks, but it felt like a long time before I even had the courage to take it off and sleep without it, attempt to sleep without it. And after that day, I never slept with it again. But like, I started feeling that. I started having mobility more in my knees, where, at one point I was thinking about getting a knee replacement. And then also like the level of medication I was taking drastically dropped from 40 to 0 over time. And I started feeling better. Like even just something as simple like, and I'm gonna share with you how like it's still room for improvement for me because there's things that I can do. And it's like I'm really loving this little retreat right now in South Africa because it's helping me get focused. And so, like, what I mean by, so like, a lot of people don't know that I had suffered from a heart attack um, back when I was still living in DeSoto, and that scared the shit out of me. Like that was very freaking scary. And so when I started feeling the improvement from that, and it was, I remember one day, uh, man, it's crazy. I can still feel like it's today. So one day, like I could feel like little pieces or something in my chest, but it's like they were just slowly picking away. But it felt weird. It was like you like you could breathe good, but then like, and so it was that one day, and it was like, doop, and it just created a hole, and it was just like, and I remember I took a deep breath, and I was just like, whoa, something just healed, and from that day on, like it was, I haven't had issues like with certain conditions, and it was like these are things that I was told that I was gonna have for the rest of my life. Oh man, it's getting dark. I'm gonna wrap this segment up, and so I knew I was onto something because I was just seeing improvement in things that I shouldn't be seeing improvement in. And to be honest with you, at that time, the only thing I wanted was to lose weight. I wasn't even thinking about trying to get healthier. And so it was funny because I was seeing those improvements before the weight was even coming off drastically. And I knew I was onto something. And so I was like, at that time, I was like trying to, tell everybody this can cure you, this can do this, doing all that crap that you ain't supposed to do. And like that's the difference between me then and now, because I'm not trying to preach to people. I'm not trying to tell people you're doing this wrong or that's wrong. Just live your life. Live in the level of comfortability, the comfortableness that you're in. And I think that's something we should always start respecting of one another. And it was such a great life lesson for me because I was one of those stubborn vegan people in a way. Like, hey, you need to be vegan. Eating meat is bad. And it's like, do what you do. If you can eat meat and process it, good for you. I can't. Like, I gotta worry about me, man. And so that's where I'm at in life now. But I have noticed also with sharing parts of my story, there's things that have helped some people. They may have like, oh, you know what? Maybe this was the missing thing that I needed, and they'll try one little thing of what I say, and it helped them. And like now, that's why I see more and more I need to be sharing these stories because you never know who could that missing piece that someone's looking for is like in your story. And so, what I'm gonna start doing is gonna be a series. This is gonna be the series of. I don't want to word this. I'm thinking about doing. This is gonna be the series of Jason's Science of Getting Healthy. And yes, I'm doing a wordplay off of the book, The Science of Getting Healthy. That's what this series is gonna be. This is part 1, and I think I'm gonna drop a part each and every day just to push myself. So just remember this. I'm Jason, and success is simple once you know how.